What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Establishment Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with just Mike Gallagher. It is a fanless Friday, sadly, for the second consecutive Friday. Justin Fan unable to join us today. He will miss out on that large, hefty paycheck we give him of $0 a week. So I know he'll be missing that one in his account, but we miss Justin. Welcome to December basketball, December 1st. Mike, how are you feeling about the final month of 2023 and a 6-game Friday slate?
Weird slate. A lot of big Q tags this morning that were pretty clear to me, and unfortunately the edge is gone now with Wembanyama and Booker getting ruled out. I thought that there was a lot of edge there, especially on the Booker with the late start. But yeah, we can get into it. Definitely feeling pretty good about today. Matchups is up if anyone wants to check it out. But yeah, let's get into it.
All right. Yeah, let's get into it game by game. We'll start with Washington in Orlando. Nothing on the Washington side here out of the ordinary. Delon Wright still out. What notes do you have on the Wizards?
So the only note is that Denny Avdia hurt his elbow. We saw him kind of grimace and didn't really affect his playing time. Actually had a pretty good game. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. And then the other note would be, as I'm pulling the box score up here, just the Tyus Jones minutes. Just we see this all the time. I have it on the wrong tab here. My bad. There we go. The Tyus minutes have been really bad. And when they play bigger teams, we saw it against the Bucks. The Magic has some size. He gets cut down, and that's been an issue. So it's been Jordan Poole sometimes, Tyus Jones the other. They just want to play Blau Coulibaly. So it's been really hard to expect a high floor out of some of these guys. There's obviously ceiling cases to be made here. In some matchups, not so much this one, but they did perform pretty well. Their fast break offense was a huge part of the game. Jordan Poole scored a season high fast break points. Avdia had a season high fast transition points, I should say. So, they can hang. Obviously, there's a lot of blowout risk in this one, but that kind of comes with every Wizards game. You've got the upside of this being a high scoring game, high paced game, but you do have the blowout risk.
Yep. Orlando side of things. We do have some tags here. Jonathan Isaac listed questionable. He was ruled out before this game last time. We saw Caleb Houston get in the rotation as a result. They're still without Markelle Fultz and Wendell Carter Jr. Jet Howard listed questionable as well. He only plays kind of blowout stuff if it ever gets to there. And then Paolo Banchero with a probable tag with a right ankle sprain, notable here. What are your notes on Paolo and the rest of the Magic?
Yeah, not a fake tag on Paolo. I'm treating it as a little bit more of a between questionable and probable tag. He did not get some fourth quarter minutes because of this ankle tweak, so we'll be keeping an eye out on that. Obviously expecting him to start. The Magic don't really use a lot of probable tags, interestingly enough. So, we're gonna treat it like it's we're not just it's like between the probable and questionable, like I was saying. But expect him to start. Maybe the minutes limit could be a little bit down. Didn't really have a great game. It was Franz who went ham. Franz, if you remember a podcast about a month ago, we were talking about how bad at rim finishing Franz, Trey, and Julius Jones have been.
Julius Randle.
Julius Randle. That's a weird call. Shout out Notre Dame, I guess. But yeah, Franz is fixed. He is killing it around the basket. Mentioned on the pod yesterday, he's leading the team in rim scoring. Atlanta's number 1 in rim scoring overall. So yeah, Franz is fixed. I expect him to have another good game. I almost cover Boyd him, but couldn't do it.
Yep. If this probable tag goes wrong and Paolo for some reason is unable to play, who would you expect to slide in a starting lineup under that circumstance?
It would probably be Isaac if he can go, but they might just keep him off the bench. They might just elevate Chuma Okeke, but yeah, again, expecting him to play, just something we'll keep an eye on.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking Ingles would be my first guess.
Or Gary kind of like him off the bench for handling.
But yeah, Isaac, they just can't play more than like 12, 15 minutes. So I can't imagine it would be him. And then Mo, if they had another center option, if they had Wendell, I think Mo would be a choice that would make a lot of sense. But it's a little bit tricky in terms of who would fill that void because Paolo's pretty unique to their offense on the whole. Okay, let's move to Memphis and Dallas. On the Memphis side of things, once again, a very full injury report. No Steven Adams, no Brandon Clark, no Luke Kennard, no Jake LaRavia, no John Morant, no Marcus Smart. Questionable tag on Xavier Tillman. So left knee injury recovery is the tag for the questionable note. What are your expectations on if we see Xavier Tillman back in the mix?
Yeah, it seems like he should be back because the timeline is fits for him to returning here. So the Grizzlies usually do doubtful questionable play. So this is a little uncharacteristic, given that he didn't get a tag last time. So I think he's going to be back. Not confident. But we do know the starting lineup's going to stick. I feel pretty confident that they're going to start Derrick Rose, Desmond Bane, Big Body Roddy, whose job gets a lot easier now, which we'll get about in a second. Biombo and Jaren Jackson. Commentary from Taylor Jenkins saying that they liked Santi Aldama off the bench. They wanted to try David Roddy the first unit. Had a really big first half, really quiet second half. They got their first home win against the Jazz. But Derrick Rose, right? We saw him start. We saw him play a lot relative to where we were expecting. He would have played more. This game was getting close to blowout. We had an under on him, and we thought we had it in the bag. But Jazz made a little bit of a run to give us an extra minute. So had the game been close, he would have probably been like 28 and a half minutes, which a guy that was hanging routinely in the teens, occasionally hitting like 20. That was somewhat surprising to us. They beat our minutes pretty good. We were pretty lucky to win that one. But expect those guys to start coming back. That probably is going to cut out the Vince Williams stuff, who's been playing pretty well for them. Zaire Williams also could be affected here. But pretty good matchup for interior scoring against Mavs. So maybe Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane could be in a big spot. Should note Desmond Bane was not affected by Derrick Rose from a role standpoint. Tries were up 4, touch time was also up. All his touches were up. The usage rate was down a little bit, which I guess comes with it. If you're taking Rose, wasting Gilliard, so that makes a little bit of sense. But I think he has a huge day. Tweeted this out. Desmond Bane hates the Mavericks. TCU guy, wanted to get drafted, said he fit like a glove. Dished Josh Green. He had a big game, and I don't even know if Josh Green played. So I love that narrative. Love the Desmond Bane versus Mavs narrative. One of my favorites.
All right, Dallas side of things. Questionable tag for Tim Hardaway Jr., but the lead here is the absence of Luka Doncic, who's out for personal reasons, as is Dante Exum as well. So they are a little bit shorthanded in terms of the rotation here. What are your expectations for what the Mavs look like tonight? And this Tim Hardaway Jr. tag, Q tag, how concerned are you about that?
Yeah, back spasms isn't a great one. Don't have too much to read on that one. But yeah, Luka came out of nowhere, about 2 hours ago. Personal stuff that happens sometimes. But so I'm very confident Josh Green's going to start. I was expecting him to start regardless. He's going to guard Desmond Bane, who Desmond Bane, ripped him. So I'm leaning the starting lineup of Kyrie, Green. I think Derrick Jones Jr. gets back in the starting lineup, but I'm not positive. We'll get to that in a second. Grant, and then Derek Lively. So we saw that lineup change where they brought Josh Green in the first unit and benched Derrick Jones Jr. After the game, Kidd said that they wanted to basically see how much of a pro Derrick Jones Jr. was coming off the bench, and he said he liked it, and he said all the right comments. So I wouldn't be totally shocked if they keep him in that bench role, and maybe they start Omax Prosper. I kind of doubt it, but just the framing of how he talked about Derrick Jones Jr. as a bench player was something that kind of struck me. So, but yeah, I'm expecting him to start, just to be clear, but keep your eyes peeled for something funky. Certainly the center minutes are pretty secure with Derek Lively. Rashawn Holmes covering some of that. We'll see if they go smaller a little bit here. Probably not. They'll probably play a little bit bigger than usual here, especially since they have to kind of account for the missing Luka, who guards a lot of fours because of his size. So I'd expect them to run a little bit of a bigger rotation than we've been seeing with some Grant Center stuff. That most, and then obviously Kyrie. I mean, just the nuttiest of the nut matchups here. Probably going to get David Roddy guarding him against one of the worst pick and roll defenses for handlers in the NBA. So Kyrie probably would have. Actually, I was going to cover boy Luka, and then I put the article out to that guy Jackson Kane who edits, and like, okay, Luka's out now, so I changed to Bane cover. But Kyrie could have a huge night here.
So you don't think Tim Hardaway Jr. would start if he was good to go in the spot without Luka? Okay.
I think they like him off the bench. We've seen this before when they missed one of the guards. They kind of moved Josh Green over to the two. But now that they want to start Josh Green, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not really confident at all. But just based on what we saw them shift Josh Green to being more of a handling guard as opposed to a forward in the situation that's on the screen right now. So they could definitely start THJ for sure. They could definitely start Jaden Hardy for sure. But kind of leaving Green and Derrick Jones Jr. for now.
Okay. Yeah, just a lot of offensive responsibility to put on one guy's hands there in the first unit. If you're going out there with Lively, Williams, Green, and Derrick Jones Jr. or something like that, like Kai's got to do all the work offensively to create for everybody else. Would expect Jaden Hardy to get elevated in that second unit, especially without Dante Exum here. And my thought process was like you could play Jaden Hardy and Seth Curry in the second unit and have some semblance of scoring from the second unit that way. But we will see how they decide to operate in a game that they should be able to get even without Luka against a worn down Memphis team. Okay, Knicks and Toronto on the Knicks side. Julius Randle, questionable right knee inflammation. That's a little bit of a concerning note. We know that generally Julius Randle has been one of the most durable players in the NBA. Historically, paired with Tom Thibodeau, that is always put to the limits in terms of how much Tibbs will run a guy into the ground. So what's your lean here on Julius Randle, who's a guy we don't often see on the injury report?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Tom Thibodeau knee surgery referrals are real deep there. But yeah, don't have much to go on here. Obviously, he played pretty well yesterday, playing very well the last 2 games. And like I mentioned with Franz, he's fixed his layup shooting. He's been really good around the basket the last 7-8 games to basically move him from a below average player to suddenly being like almost an above average layup finisher. So really turned it around there. But yeah, that's kind of we'll see if he's out. Obviously, this is Josh Hart, who would play heavy minutes here. I would imagine he would pick up the Pascal Siakam assignment. It could be Scotty Barnes though. They've usually used RJ Barrett on Pascal, but that could flip here because it was a little bit different because of the Fred VanVleet factor and all that, which I'll get to in a second. But yeah, Josh Hart would certainly step into a big role. And I'm pretty sure OG's guarding Jalen Brunson regardless. But obviously, if Randle was out, he would for sure guard him. So that would be a really bad matchup for Brunson, who, got blitzed by the Hornets and then easy spot yesterday. The Pistons are just a disaster at stopping the ball. So nice to see him kind of cook for a 42 ball. But he will not score 40 today against OG.
I was at a charity event last night, so I wasn't able to follow the games closely. I was wondering, just out of curiosity, was Brunson kind of in control the whole game, or was it a lot of fourth quarter stuff for Brunson?
It was pretty much the whole game.
Okay. Because I'm starting to form this hypothesis just generally that in the softer matchups that it might be more of a Randle spot naturally because he kind of is always taking the usage, and then Brunson a lot of times has kind of that old Chris Paul, Damian Lillard type of I'll let everybody else kind of get theirs early and then I'll close things off if I need to type thing. And so I was wondering about that hypothesis in this game when you see a Knicks 6-point win in a game that they were down by 2 going into the fourth quarter. Okay. Toronto side, nothing there to really touch on. The G Leaguers are out. Christian Koloko remains out with the respiratory issue. What are your notes on the Raptors?
Not a lot. The only injury note was that we saw Dennis Schroeder hurt his knee 2 games ago, and then the back-to-back goes out there and plays the whole full workload. Really good handling role from him. Going to get the really soft matchup. Jalen Brunson's going to guard him as well. So could be a sneaky Schroeder spot. And then, yeah, Scotty's playing a lot. That's really it. His shooting's down. We talked a lot about how his jump shooting has been terrific. He was leading the league for decent volume off dribble jumpers, and that's kind of dissipated. So, but the role's there. He's still handling a little bit. It's not like the high end role that we were hoping for in the offseason, but in a pretty good spot. Pascal, a little bit of a mixed bag here. Again, I'm not sure how the matchups work with him. I think it would be Randle guarding him, but it could definitely be RJ. Certainly, Pascal has a huge game on his resume against the Knicks, dropped 52 on them last year. So, yeah, it could be an interesting spot. Obviously, the Knicks are a really good rebounding team. Not a good spot for Jakob Poeltl. The Knicks are just – it's insane how good their rebounding stats are. So, but, yeah, I expect a pretty much similar approach here with Precious and Gary Trent being the kind of main cogs. Good spot for Gary Trent with the Knicks, who actually are a little bit better at limiting jump shooting this year compared to last year. So it's not as good as it's been.
Philadelphia and Boston, the big game of the night. Philadelphia does decide to lift Joel Embiid this time with a illness tag, questionable. Nico Batum listed probable with right finger soreness. Jaden Springer listed probable due to illness as well. Still without Kelly Oubre Jr. He will not return tonight, listed out with rib soreness, and no Daniel House either. What are your notes on Joel Embiid in this Q tag tonight?
I saved this. I wanted to go off on the DFS show yesterday, but I knew we had to kind of get a hard out, so I saved it for today. What the hell? So I have the Sixers social on notifications. So about 15 minutes before lineups were due, there was a tweet that they sent out that had just a bell. So they usually put bell name for their starting lineup. So they apparently were fixing it to start. And then also Nick Nurse, he talked about their preparation for this game, and they knew what they were they knew he wasn't gonna play. I am 100% convinced on this. This is garbage, man. This is not cool. It is all year last year. They weren't getting fined. It's just total trash. I don't know if he's playing. Gonna be game time decision. Probably gonna suit up. It's total BS though. Yesterday was too much. I'm like a broken man. because of this. But the whole big gambling stuff, it's not cool, man. They knew he wasn't going to play. And it's quite clear. So, anyways, if he's in, the matchup's pretty bad. Boston's got Al Horford, really good interior defense as well. They would probably start Marcus Morris again if he's out. Certainly, Paul Reed would have to be a big piece. We saw him get subbed in a little bit later than we expected in this Pelicans game, but it would be a sneaky Paul Reed spot for overall, just because the minutes. I think they kind of have to play a little bit bigger. But it would also be Tyrese Maxey would have a huge, huge role on his hands if Embiid missed. He would have to face a lot of Drew Holiday. But the Celtics defense really funnels jump shooting. They actually allow the most off-dribble jumpers in the NBA. That's just the way their defense is structured. They want you to shoot that kind of off-dribble stuff, which would be Maxey's MO. So big opportunity, terrible matchup. We kind of like that for DFS, though. So that's kind of where we're at. And then we'll see how many minutes Nick Batum plays. Did hurt his finger. He's good to go, but funky matchup, right? You got the wings on the other side. I could see him getting cut down in favor of Robert Covington here.
Yeah. My fun Paul Reed stats of the day is he is 19 out of 19 converting potential assists this year. He has a 100% potential assist conversion rate, which is really quite something. And yeah, echo your sentiments on the Phoenix 76ers. This is an organization that has also been accused of let's say salary cap circumvention with some of the issues that they did last year with James Harden's extension, with getting PJ Tucker and whatnot. They're a bunch of line steppers, habitual line steppers. And I would love to see them get put in their place a little bit with some league discipline on this stuff, because it really is worse for the product. It's enough. I mean, it was enough. We all had to go through like the 2 full years of them campaigning against Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid's MVP candidacy. Look, we gave you all that. You could have all of the whining, all that stuff. Just file an injury report. Just file an injury report and tell us who's going to play and who's not going to play, and do it on time. If you don't, you're supposed to get fined for this stuff. So yeah,
terrible.
Time for the Sixers to get their punishment. Boston Celtics, their punishment outside of losing in the second round every single year. The Boston Celtics, Kristaps Porzingis out, Jordan Walsh, Nathan Knight, JD Davison out, the G Leaguers. What are your notes on the Celtics without Kristaps Porzingis?
Nope, nothing. Just I just loved what they did to the Bulls and going for it, and going for the hack of Drummond and getting into playing. Mad props. But yeah, Drew returned from an ankle, totally fine workload, certainly small usage to be expected. But yeah, not too many matchup notes here. Usually, I think it's going to be Tobias guarding Tatum, Melton guarding Jaylen Brown. They did the previous 2 games. It was Kelly Oubre guarding Tatum. Obviously, he's not playing today, so that's kind of how I expect the matchups to go. So yeah, kind of interesting. But we saw this team get wrecked inside. Zion, 11-12, just killed around the basket without Embiid back there. So the matchups are a little up in the air, because we know for sure that we are not getting the Embiid news until we see that 76ers tweet come out from their social account. So it's every game. This is 2 years now. They've been doing this. It's just, what the hell?
Yeah, different coaching staff, so it's clearly an organizational thing. Let's move on to San Antonio and New Orleans. On the San Antonio side, no Victor Wembanyama tonight. The right hip tightness that had him questionable yesterday that he played through has him out tonight on the second night of back-to-back. They're still without Doug McDermott, who's also listed out due to illness. And now you've got a probable tag on Keldon Johnson with right hip tightness as well. So a lot of right hip tightness issues for Spurs, and a little more Pilates in their life. What are your thoughts on Keldon Johnson's probable tag tonight?
Should be good, but we've seen some probable shenanigans with the Spurs at times. It was quite obvious Wembanyama wasn't going to play. The books were pretty sharp. They kind of only lined Wembanyama out there, so you couldn't really bet into it from what I saw, unless I missed something. But yeah, Devin Vassell off the bench, that's apparently going to stick, which is quite odd for their best scorer, according to Greg Popovich and according to really anyone that's watched the Spurs, despite what Jeremy Sohan did yesterday. But yeah, I think Jetty Osman starts here. He's been subbing in behind Wemby pretty much every time. I wouldn't be shocked to see Trey Jones get the start. Big opponent on the other side. That's kind of why I lean Jetty, and he may be a sacrificial lamb. I take that back. I think it would be Sohan guarding him, Zion it is. So yeah, but Wemby's first missed game. Could definitely see those guys. So the guys who are going to benefit are obviously the starters will play a little bit more. Brandon will probably play a little bit more. Trey Jones certainly will play a lot more, since I think Sohan's going to be more of a 3-4 than a 1-4. So he kind of sneakily benefits. And then we'll see if they bring in Dominic Barlow or anybody like that, because they do not have McDermott. So getting a little thin at the forward spots.
Yep. All right. New Orleans side of things. Questionable tag for Jose Alvarado with a right ankle sprain. Matt Ryan is doubtful with right calf strain. But the good news, Trey Murphy listed probable. So it looks like we're going to get our Trey Murphy return tonight. Larry Nance is out. What are your notes on the Pels?
Yeah, they're almost whole here. Jose Alvarado rolled his ankle in the last game, did return. It looked kind of bad, so it looks like he should be good to go. And then, Trey Murphy returning. This team is suddenly almost there with respect to Matt Ryan. So expecting their usual starters. CJ McCollum returned from the slung thing. He's not going to play tomorrow. He actually needs a couple more days to clear for flying. He had a 4-week mark he had to hit before he could start flying, and flying is in an airplane. So he won't fly to Chicago tomorrow, but he will fly to Sacramento for the in-season tournament game. So, again, he'll be probably around 30 minutes. Willie Green said they're going to ramp him up over a multiple game stretch. So probably looking at we'll probably have him at 31 minutes today. Actually, maybe a little bit less with the blowout. So I take that back a little bit. And then Herb, B.I., Zion, Valanciunas. I guess the story for the rotation was how hard Dyson Daniels got cut down. He was playing pretty much straight behind Herb with not a lot of overlap. We saw that starting lineup hold up pretty well. So he's lost a ton of minutes. Najee Marshall's minutes will come down. Jordan Hawkins won't have 20s on the table anymore since he's kind of a 1-to-1 offensively, half-court wise to what Trey is with the size. So curious to see how much Hawkins gets cut down with Trey Murphy back. Should be on a minutes limit returning from an ACL sprain there. But, yeah, they're pretty deep now all of a sudden. So hopefully that continues.
What are your expectations for Trey Murphy from a minutes perspective tonight?
I think we got him at 22. Pretty decent bench roll, expecting to ramp up. But yeah, he's past his target date. He was supposed to miss 10 to 12, and he's just a little over the 12. So should be probably ramped up a little bit. So not a big minutes limit. But normally we'd probably only have him 26, 27 anyway. So doesn't have a big minutes roll on his hands when they're healthy anyways.
All right, Denver, Phoenix. On the Denver side of things, Aaron Gordon listed questionable with that right heel strain that's missed a few games in a row here. Jamal Murray questionable with the right ankle sprain. Notably, he played through that ankle sprain last game. It happened in the first quarter. I immediately fired some unders on him that thankfully just held on to some poor shooting. Peyton Watson listed probable due to illness. What are your notes here on the Nuggets tonight?
Yeah, Jamal Murray is, quote, not healthy, according to Michael Malone, is a fellow Michael. Back-to-back. They play at Sacramento tomorrow at NBA TV. I think the plan, he's coming off a bad hamstring. That's usually a spot where you sit one game back-to-back. So I think they were planning before Wednesday to plan today, sit him tomorrow. Now that he has this ankle thing, maybe just sit him today, plan tomorrow. We'll see. So, yeah, not a great read. But when your coach says you're, quote, not healthy and you're returning from a hamstring injury, not good. So I definitely think Reggie Jackson has a chance to start. Mentioned Peyton Watson. He was available last game. He did not play. He was still feeling sick. He got a probable tag for an illness. He was so sick, according to Mike Malone, that he was in the steam room / sauna trying to sweat out the illness. So I think he eventually told Michael Malone did it again, that he wasn't well enough to play. So that was an interesting story from Michael Malone's presser that I learned there. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on Jamal Murray. I think he plays. He likes to play through stuff, but certainly given the context of his hamstring and the recent ankle injury, it does make a little bit of sense to hold him out today and play him tomorrow.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see how the Nuggets continue to kind of navigate through the schedule, because obviously they were putting so much on the weight of Nikola Jokic without both Murray and Gordon for a period of time. And now I kind of wonder if they kind of finesse, get one guy for a game and then one guy for the next game, and see if instead of having all three play and then have two guys out the next night and lean on Nikola a ton again, I wouldn't be surprised to see one in, one out and kind of, maneuver their way through the schedule that way.
They're in a rough stretch right now. Really quick. Yeah, they're in a five games in 7 night stretch. So that's part of the reason why Jokic sat the other night. So yeah, the tougher, that ankle injury timing is terrible. So definitely expecting him to sit for one of these 2 games though. We don't do an injury show tomorrow, so there you go.
Yeah, the good news for them though is that because they didn't qualify for the in-season tournament, they are off until Wednesday. So a lot of these teams, if you didn't qualify for the in-season tournament, right, you get from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you get 3 days off. So for a lot of these teams, this is going to be a natural kind of reset button. So Maybe they grind through it, but I would guess we get one guy tonight and one guy tomorrow is kind of what I'm expecting for Denver. I don't know which, though. All right, Phoenix side of things. National TV game tonight. Unfortunately, it will not involve Devin Booker or Bradley Beal. They're both out. It's the KD show once again. We've seen a lot of this year with Phoenix. No Grayson Allen listed on the injury report. That's good news. What are your notes on the Suns?
Yeah, it's too bad here for the DFS gang because it was quite clear that Devin Booker wasn't going to play today. So it would have been nice to have the Q tag go through because this game is an island game 2 hours later. So you could have had some really good edge here on getting some low-owned Suns guys, but that's not there anymore. So yeah, it sounds like the expectation is they also play tomorrow. So it sounds like he's going to miss both these games to get him ready to go for the big in-season tournament game in LA on Monday. But yeah, so this is interesting because they're going to get Grayson Allen back. So we know for sure, for starters, Eric Gordon, who's headed for a big role today, I would say. Grayson Allen will be back in the starting lineup. Obviously, Kevin Durant and Jusuf Nurkic, revenge game. He will be out there. And I'm leaning Keita Bates-Diop getting the start here just because Denver's so big. That was such an issue for them in the playoffs. I think they just got to start bigger. So not 100% confident there. It could certainly be Josh Okogie, who's been filling in some spots when they've been missing guys. So that's something to watch. But yeah, I'm leaning KBD here. They are getting Nazir Little back. We'll see how much Jordan Goodwin plays. He could have a pretty big role. Yuta Watanabe should play a little bit. But yeah, this is going to be the Kevin Durant show. We'll see if Aaron Gordon can play. Should have mentioned on the Nugget stuff that Aaron Gordon's heel could certainly keep him out again. I think that they're going to probably do 1-1. Maybe they play Murray today, sit Gordon tomorrow, like you were kind of saying there. But yeah, either way, I mean, Durant's going to have one of the biggest roles in the night tonight. So certainly a guy that has a big late night hammer upside. And the books knew Booker was out. They were lining Durant like really high today. So I'm quite.
And anyways, another note here is, in generally, the books almost always line key questionable tags. They line players as if those players are out, and then kind of make you adjust. A note
it was high. It was higher than even that, though.
Yeah. If we see, like, if you're Denver's thinking on this and you're going to go 1-1, I would think you would want Aaron Gordon for the game against Kevin Durant and Jamal Murray for the game tomorrow. If that is the case, then starting bigger with Keita Bates-Diop certainly makes sense. But if it's not the case, right, and it's Aaron Gordon who sits and Jamal Murray plays, then you might see Okogie in the starting lineup to match up with Jamal Murray, because you're going to have KD on Michael Porter Jr. anyway, and you're not worried about those duck-ins that the Nuggets run a ton. But if you have to have KD on Aaron Gordon or KD on MPJ and somebody else on the other two, then you got to worry about the size on those duck-ins that Denver runs a lot. So the starting lineup on Phoenix side might be determined by who's available for Denver side as well here.
Yep. Totally agree.
Okay. That'll do it as the sirens close in on me here for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. We're getting out right before my sirens hit and right before Gallagher's sirens hit here at the 2:28 Eastern mark. As always, if you enjoy the free content that we are delivering, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. We are up to just over 4,000 subscribers. I would love to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year.
Yeah,
so
that'd be great.
You could, if by the end of the basketball year, I mean, by the end of this year would be incredible. But if you guys want to help us out there, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us and allows us to continue providing this free content for you. If you're interested in the paid content that we put out behind the paywall, you can check out establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more information around our products. We have the NBA in-season DFS package that includes Mike Gallagher's matchups column 3 times a week, top plays 6 times a week, live shows 5 times a week, and projections for every game, every player, every day that there are NBA games. You can check us out more there behind the paywall. And of course, the props package, the in-season props package, which we're off to a really good start this year, 20% ROI, swept the board last night, 7-0, feeling really good about the work we're putting in there. Of course, if you're interested in the props package, we really encourage you to read the FAQ closely. It's linked there, so you get more information and details around that. And finally, if you do enjoy this free content, the best way to support it is to feed the algorithm. The best way to feed that algorithm is to hold down firmly, press gently, caress caringly, or smash that like button, however you'd like to do it. Make sure it gets pushed down and it feeds that algorithm. It helps feed our families, which allows us to feed you the NBA injury information and analysis you need each day to set your DFS lineups, your in-season fantasy lineups, make your spread bets, your prop bets, so on and so forth. So help feed that algorithm. It helps feed us, and we'll keep feeding you the content. I hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday for in-season tournament quarterfinals day 1 with another edition of Established Runs NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Take care, everybody.